Hello, I'm Jonasz Rewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. Alright, let's talk about BART. Maybe you skipped that news recently, but Belgian Foreign Minister Maxime Prévost has openly stated that the European Commission's new proposal to transfer part of Russia's frozen assets to Ukraine in the form of a reparation loan is categorically unacceptable. That's it, categorically. And it's not even his idea, you see, but that of his boss, Bart De Wever, Prime Minister of Belgium, and since recently the target of angry comments the world over, and we're not even surprised. But back to the beginning, shall we? Prévost explained that his government does not support the idea of using a reparation loan as a mechanism to help Ukraine. Instead, Belgium insists on a classic approach, borrowing the necessary funds on the market so that no one exposes them and their precious company Euroclear to any risks. The minister added that Belgium's arguments are often dismissed and the country's concerns about financial stability are not taken seriously.
We have repeatedly said that we consider the option of the reparations loan the worst of all, as it is risky and has never been done before. Everyone can see how difficult it has been for months to find a robust solution to the proposed option. Our door has always remained open and still is. However, we have the frustrating feeling of not having been heard. It is not acceptable to use the money and leave us alone facing the risks. The proposed reparations loan is clearly not a preferred choice. In the event member states wish to go in that direction, we demand that the risks Belgium is facing as a result of this scheme are fully covered. This is no unreasonable request. This is simply fairness. We are not seeking to antagonize our partners or Ukraine. We are simply seeking to avoid potentially disastrous consequences for a member state that is being asked to show solidarity without being offered the same solidarity in return.
You heard the man. It's risky and never been done before. Isn't innovation all about facing things which are a bit risky and might have not been done before? Well, in short, Belgium's position is as follows. We're ready to support Ukraine, but not at the expense of our own financial well-being. Prévost emphasized that if the European Union essentially adopts that scheme, Belgium will be left alone with the risks, and he demanded that all possible consequences be covered. And since the vast majority of all Russian assets which were frozen are actually held by Euroclear, their veto calls into question Ukraine's financial stability in 2026. According to the European Commission, Ukraine will need 135 billion euros in 2026 and 2027, and some EU countries will be distinctly unhappy about having to scrape the bottom of the barrel for those funds, as they will no doubt call this situation. But wait, there is more. And this is where it gets nasty, you see. Prime Minister Bart De Wever, who has been blocking the idea of confiscating the Russian assets or even using them in any kind of more complex financial construct to help Ukraine, has decided to speak up. And boy, did he ruffle a few feathers. Here comes a barrage of quotes. Here we go. Moscow has informed us that if seizures happen, Belgium and I personally would feel it for eternity. That seems like quite a long time. Well, it certainly does, kind of like the amount of time for which a politician can lose all credibility for hot takes like that one. And let me get this straight. The man is scared out of his wits by Russian lawyers. You know, Ukrainians have to face more than just lawsuits or subpoenas every single day. Okay, but it gets worse than that. Are you ready for another quote? Who really believes that Russia will lose in Ukraine? It's a fable, a complete illusion. And also, it is not even desirable for them to lose and for instability to take hold in a country that possesses nuclear weapons. If I read this out loud and asked, who said this? You'd probably guess Robert Fico, Viktor Orban, or even more likely some journalist in name only like Tucker Carlson. But don't you know, true friends stab you in the front. Here is a man who's got the power to end the misery of a war-torn country by handing over the aggressor's assets, but instead he chooses to impersonate Monty Python's brave Sir Robin. When danger reared its ugly head, he bravely turned his tail and fled. But also, he disguises this conspicuous lack of bold leadership with a veneer of realism and even moral superiority. Are you surprised that The Economist's take on this subject is, and I quote, how Belgium became Russia's most valuable asset? And they are not alone in this, you see. Some say it is greed. The interest on Russian funds is considerable, after all, while others say it's a betrayal of European ideals. In the end, if Bart doesn't change his mind, he's gonna be the laughingstock in the EU's big European classroom. Say the line, Bart. I saved Russian war machine. Except the class probably won't be cheering after that one. And you didn't believe it when people said The Simpsons were a tale of prophecy. Denmark and Ukraine have officially begun construction of a solid rocket fuel production plant. The first time in history that a Ukrainian defense manufacturer will operate on NATO territory. The new plant of Firepoint's subsidiary, FPRT, will be built in the city of Voens in southern Denmark. According to the company's director, Vyacheslav Bondarchuk, production of solid rocket fuel will begin in 2026. This fuel is critically important for several Ukrainian rocket programs. That is exactly what Russia most likely wouldn't like to see, neither in Ukraine nor even in European countries. They are scared out of their wits of Ukrainian rockets, and these rockets are already wreaking havoc across the refineries. And, of course, for that reason, Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova reacted immediately upon hearing the news.
Дания, первый из стран-спонсоров террористического киевского режима, предоставил свою территорию для создания компонентов вооружений с целью их последующего боевого применения против мирных городов нашей страны. Эта авантюра подтверждает такой абсолютно враждебный милитаристский курс Копенгагена, саботирующего вместе с рядом других наиболее агрессивно настроенных к России стран усилия по политико-дипломатическому регулированию украинского кризиса. Это все несет риски дополнительной эскалации и поощряет неонацистов, а теперь уже и неонацистских террористов на Украине на совершение новых варварских преступлений в отношении гражданского населения в российских регионах. А теперь уже, вот мы только что говорили, не только население гражданского российских регионов, но и инфраструктуру гражданскую в других странах, или которые используются другими странами. Датские власти не скрывают, что данный шаг, кроме всего прочего, призван стимулировать развитие военно-промышленного комплекса этой страны. Ну, о чем это свидетельствует? Это свидетельствует об их стремлении обеспечить дальнейшее обогащение за счет продолжения кровопролития на Украине.
Translated from Kremlin speak, we can't do anything, so we will shout loudly, maybe someone will get scared as a result. In short, Moscow sincerely believes that the appearance of a Ukrainian factory in NATO is a threat to world peace. Although Russia itself has been peacefully shelling civilian cities for almost 4 years with missiles made in factories which, unlike the Danish ones, for some reason are not called a risk of escalation. Not at all. Now, in Europe, this event is seen as a logical step. Ukraine must be given the opportunity to produce missiles in order to defend itself effectively, especially since NATO membership is becoming more and more distant with the current stance of the US administration. And now partner countries now need to ensure that the Russian war does not become some sort of major conflagration. They want to help Ukraine. They are trying to do this. And if anyone thinks that the West is going to abandon this project just because of Zakharova's hysterical comments, they are mistaken. After all, not every European leader is like Bart. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.